Hello and welcome to this continuation of our presentation related to further transposition. In this presentation I've included some additional questions where we transpose equations involving trigonometric functions such as sine and cosine. Here's a brief overview of the additional questions we're going to consider within this presentation. So here's question 14 through to question 20. For each question we'll be given an equation which we have to transpose for the variable shown on the right hand side in the square bracket, and all solutions for the various transpositions will be shown within the presentation. So here's the commencement of the solutions. Question 14, given the equation lowercase v is equal to uppercase V multiplied by the sine of omega t minus alpha. We have to transpose for uppercase V. So the first step, we're going to divide both sides by the sine of omega t minus alpha, shown here. And note for reference I'm using the / symbol to denote the process of division, as shown here within the transposition. That's actually produced the solution we require for v. And all I do on the last line is simply turn the equation round, have v on the left hand side. We always have our subject on the left hand side. So capital V is equal to lowercase v divided by sine omega t minus alpha. Here's the solution to question 15. We're given that lowercase I is equal to uppercase I multiplied by sine omega t plus alpha. We have to transpose for lowercase t. So first step in the process, divide both sides by uppercase I. Next we take the inverse sine or arc sine of both sides of the equation. So left hand side, the arc sine of lowercase I divided by uppercase I equals on the right hand side omega t plus alpha. And just note for reference that arc sine of our bracketed term is often written as sine to the negative 1 of our bracketed term. Next we subtract alpha from both sides of the equation, and finally we divide both sides by omega. Just turn the equation around so the subject t is on the left hand side. So t is equal to the arc sine of the lowercase I divided by the uppercase I minus alpha, and that's all divided by omega. Solutions continued. So solution for question 16. Given the equation, delta is equal to x multiplied by the sine of omega t minus alpha. We have to transpose for alpha. So first step in the process, we'll divide both sides by x. Next we'll take the inverse sine or the arc sine of both sides of the equation. So arc sine of delta divided by x on the left hand side. That leaves us with omega t minus alpha on the right hand side. Next we add alpha to both sides of the equation to make it positive. And finally we subtract the arc sine of delta divided by x from both sides of the equation to leave us with alpha as the subject. So that's the solution for question 16. Solutions continued. Question 17. We're given the equation y is equal to a multiplied by the cos, we've got nested brackets here, of b multiplied by, in the bracket, x minus c, add d. We've got to rearrange for d. So on the next line I've simply subtracted a multiplied by the cos, of our nested brackets here, is equal to d. So we've rearranged the equation for d, but on the next line I've simply turned the equation around so the subject d is on the left hand side. So d is equal to y minus a cos of our nested brackets. Solutions continued is question 18. And given the same equation as on the previous slide, this time we've got to rearrange for variable a. So next line we subtracted d from both sides of the equation. Next line we divided throughout by cos of our bracketed term. That's given us the subject of a. On the last line I simply turn the equation around, so a is equal to y minus d in the numerator divided by cos of our bracketed term in the denominator. Solutions continued. Question 19. And given the same equation as on the previous slide, but this time we have to rearrange for variable b. Process here is we will subtract d from both sides of the equation. We divide both sides by a. And just note that it's essential to use the bracket as shown here to ensure the order of precedence is correct. In other words, we're still complying with our BODMAS rules. We reviewed the precedent rules and the use of the mnemonic BODMAS in a previous presentation. Then we take the inverse cosine, arc cos of both sides of the equation, so the cos terms removed from the right hand side. And just note for reference that arc cos of the bracketed term is often written as cos to the -1 of the bracketed term. Then we divide by the bracket x minus c. So now we have variable b as our subject, and we simply turn the equation around. So b is equal to the arc cos of, in brackets, y minus d divided by the a, and that's all divided by x minus c. Solutions continued. Question 20, again given the same equations on the previous slide, but this time we have to rearrange for variable c. So first step in the process, again we will subtract d from both sides. We will divide both sides by a, take the inverse cosine, arc cos of both sides of the equation, so these would be multiplied by, in brackets, x minus c on the right hand side, and then divide both sides by b, and then add c to both sides. That equals to x on the right hand side. And finally, to make c the subject, we simply subtract the arc cos of our bracketed term divided by b, so we have our final formula for c. So that's the conclusion of the solutions to the additional questions for further transposition, and I hope this presentation has been of use to you, and as always, thank you for viewing.